After months of deadlock over the Middle East, Biden finally secured a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah as his final victory in office. Israel and Hezbollah agreed to a ceasefire on November 27 under a US-France brokered deal. The deal is seen as a much-needed reprieve to help the Middle East cool down after a long period of constant tension due to many conflicts, which at times seemed to have erupted into all-out war. David Ignatius, an analyst for The Washington Post, said the ceasefire was a victory for U.S. President Joe Biden after months of efforts to end the conflict in the Middle East. Although there are still many doubts about its long-term effectiveness, the ceasefire will be a bright spot at the end of Biden's term, who will hand over power to President-elect Donald Trump in less than 2 months. It marks a valuable foreign policy success for the Biden administration after a year of failed efforts to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza. The Israel-Hezbollah deal is the culmination of the shuttle diplomacy of White House Special Envoy Amos Hochstein, who has been traveling between Beirut and Jerusalem for months. Ignatius said, "President Biden is optimistic that the deal is good news and brings us closer to realizing the agenda I have promoted throughout my presidency. A vision of a peaceful and prosperous Middle East." He affirmed that he will continue to work tirelessly for the rest of his term to achieve the goal. Just as the people of Lebanon deserve a future of prosperity and security, so do the people of Gaza. They deserve an end to war and displacement. The people of Gaza have been through hell. Their world has collapsed. Too many Gazan civilians have suffered, he said. Biden also raised the prospect of a normalization deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia, describing it as a diplomatic reward for both Netanyahu and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He said the deal would provide a credible roadmap toward Palestinian statehood, something Israel has repeatedly rejected. The United States is ready to sign a series of historic agreements, he said. It is unclear how the Biden administration has discussed or coordinated with President-elect Donald Trump's transition team, which is due to take over oversight of Middle East deals in just 2 months. Trump pushed for a normalization deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia during his first term. Biden and French President Emmanuel Macron will now oversee the implementation of a 60-day ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. Lebanese sources said the breakthrough in Hochstein's negotiations was a provision that would give both sides the right to self-defense if the deal is violated. If Hezbollah reappears in southern Lebanon or plans to attack Israel, the move will be reported to the US-led monitoring committee. The Lebanese army will be the first to intervene, but Israel will be free to respond to Hezbollah's moves. Netanyahu has warned that Israel will attack Lebanon if Hezbollah violates the ceasefire. It's not a perfect deal, but both sides see some advantages and it can be maintained when other options are worse. Michael Young, a veteran Lebanese journalist, said of the new ceasefire, however, even if the Biden administration succeeds in the Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire and continues to push for an end to the Gaza conflict in the next 2 months, some observers say his ambition to secure peace in the Middle East before leaving office remains far from certain. Experts and analysts have long said that ending the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah will be easier than reaching a deal in the Gaza Strip. For months, peace talks in Gaza have made little progress, even as Washington says Tel Aviv has achieved all its military objectives in its campaign against Hamas. The Israel-Hezbollah deal is a testament to Biden's efforts to cement his foreign policy legacy. But the lingering Gaza conflict will overshadow the final months of the US president's term. Observers say, even if Biden is optimistic about a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, a deal in the Gaza Strip is much harder to achieve. Biden is likely to end his term without resolving one of the biggest foreign policy crises of his 4 years in office, said analyst David Ignatius.